Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'm sharing 4 new farmhouse style DIYs that are all affordable and super easy to do. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you do, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Now let's get right into today's projects. For the first DIY today, I'm going to be making over one of these little house signs from Dollar General, and this one was only $1. It's really cute on its own, but I just wanted to give it a little bit of a makeover. I was originally going to take the tin roof part off, but I decided to leave that on. And for the front of the house, I'm painting that with my folk art chalk paint in the color Castle, and I did 2 coats of this paint to get everything on the front all covered up. I'm also using this wood square block that I got from Michael's, and I believe this was only like $1 or $1.50, and I want my house to stand up, so by using this block and attaching the house to it, it's gonna help it stand up. And it's a little bit larger than my house shape as well, so it's gonna give me a little bit of a border around the house. I'm painting my wood block with my Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster, and I did 1 coat of paint on the entire wood square. After that paint was all dry, I'm then putting hot glue on the back side of my house and gluing that right in the center of my painted square. Next, I'm using one of these unfinished wood circles, and this one is also from Michael's. I was gonna take the tag off and then figured, oh, you're not gonna see it anyway, so I ended up leaving that on. But I am giving this circle a quick coat of that Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster. After the paint is all dry, I'm then going to be applying this Bless Our Nest stencil. This is the perfect size for my circle, and I've actually used this stencil a few times already and it's still going strong. So I'm just placing my stencil in the center of my circle, and then for the stencil color that I'm going to be painting on, it is that same folk art chalk paint in the color Castle, and I just used my Dollar Tree stencil brush to apply the paint. And this stencil is from Michael's. It came in a pack of stencils, and I will try to have those linked down below. Once the paint is all dry, I'm then removing the stencil. Next, I'm using some of this burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree. I'm cutting it down to size so that it will fit going across the center of my house, and then I'm using hot glue on each side of the ribbon to attach it to the front of the house. And then I'm also attaching my circle with the Bless Our Nest stenciled on it right in the center of that burlap ribbon. Then to add a little bit more detail to my roof, I'm using that plastered colored chalk paint, and I'm very lightly painting that over top of my tin roof. And then for the last step, I'm using some of this striped ribbon from Dollar Tree. I'm making a really simple bow, and then I'm using some hot glue on the back side of the bow to attach that right above my Bless Our Nest circle. And here is my Bless Our Nest house all finished. It goes perfect with the decor that I have currently in my home, and it was super easy to create. Now moving right on into DIY number 2. For this one, I'm using this wood round. I picked this one up from Goodwill for $1.99, but they have similar things like this at Lowe's and Home Depot. And I'm also using 4 of these unfinished wood legs. These ones I did pick up from Lowe's, and they were $1.98 a piece. I'm starting by painting my entire round circle with my Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster. I did 2 coats of paint on the entire thing, the front, the back, and all of the sides. Then once the paint was all dry, I took a piece of sandpaper and I started sanding around all of the edges. And then I also took that same piece of sandpaper and sanded in random spots on the front to give my piece a worn, distressed look. And I used that same plaster color to paint over all 4 of my wood legs, and I only did 1 coat of paint for these. Then once the paint was all dry, I then took my sandpaper once again and sanded on all 4 of the legs to give them a distressed look, just like my other pieces in today's project. Now that I have everything all painted and distressed, it's time to start deciding where I'm going to be placing my legs. I just took the legs and eyeballed them where I thought that they should go, and then I pressed the little metal screws on the back of the legs into my wood, and it left a mark, so then it left a mark, obviously, where I need to drill. There is probably a better way to do this, and actually measuring is probably best, but honestly, I did not do that. I just kind of eyeballed it and placed them where I thought they needed to go, and then used my drill to drill holes in the places that were marked. I then screwed each one of my legs in the holes that I drilled. I am going to be taking the legs back out. I just screwed them in just to make sure that they were going to go in okay before I start adding my glue and things like that. And I did that for all 4 of the legs. As you can see, the legs are back out, and now I'm going to be adding this stencil. This stencil is from Hobby Lobby. I believe it was only like $2.49, and you can reuse it if you take really good care of it. I just placed the stencil in the center of my circle, and then I'm using painter's tape to hold it into place. I'm then using my folk art chalk paint in the color Rich Black on a Dollar Tree stencil brush to stencil the color on this entire stencil. And when I'm stenciling, I always place a little bit of paint on my brush and then build it up so that I don't have any bleed through underneath the stencil. You can also use Mod Podge before stenciling to help with the bleeding as well. Once the paint was all dry, I then removed my painter's tape and my stencil. Now I'm getting back to the legs. I'm placing hot glue around the screws, and then I'm screwing them right into the holes that I've already drilled. You could always use E6000 if you weren't comfortable using only hot glue, but the hot glue seemed to work just fine for me, and I continued that for all 4 of the legs. And here is my decorative stool all finished. I think it turned out really cute, and it honestly could not have been any easier. Now for the third DIY today, I'm using one of these pen or pencil holders from Dollar Tree, and I'm also using some of these pearl sticker dots from Dollar Tree. And I'm starting by taking a strip of the pearl dots, and then I'm placing those around the top edge of my pencil holder, and I'm continuing to go all the way around the top edge until it's completely covered. And I did have to cut off 1 or 2 of the pearls just to keep the pattern going the same. And then I also did that for the bottom edge of the pen and pencil holder as well. After I have all of my pearl dots on, I'm then painting over my entire vase and over all of the dots with my folk art chalk paint in the color Castle, and I did 2 coats of this paint. Then once that paint was all dry, I took my plastered colored paint on a Dollar Tree stencil brush, and I just dry brushed that color over top of my entire piece, just kind of randomly in places where I thought that it needed some of that white color. And where all of the dots are, where I'm painting this plaster color over top, it's really making those areas pop. Next, I'm taking some Spanish moss from Dollar Tree and I'm placing it inside of my holder, and then I'm using some of these lamb's ear stems from Walmart and I'm placing those right down inside of that Spanish moss. And then I'm also using some of these baby's breath stems also from Walmart, and I'm placing those around the lamb's ear. And this is my decorative vase all finished. This was super easy and another project that you can really customize to fit with your own home decor. And now moving right along to the 4th and final DIY for today. I'm using these 3-inch terracotta saucers and these wooden mini candlesticks. These all I got from Hobby Lobby, but you can get the terracotta saucers at pretty much any store. I know Walmart even sells these. And I'm starting by painting the saucers with my Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster, and I only had to do 1 coat of this paint on both of my saucers. I'm also painting my mini wooden candlesticks with that same plaster colored chalk paint, and again only had to do 1 coat of paint on both of them. Once the paint was all dry, I'm then using some sandpaper to sand around all of the edges on my saucer to give it a distressed look and have that terracotta color pop back through. And once I did that to the saucers, I moved on and did the same thing to both of my candlesticks. I just distressed them a little bit with the sandpaper. Then it was time to start assembling everything together. I placed hot glue on the bottom of one of my candlesticks and then placed that in the center of the bottom of one of my saucers. I placed hot glue on the top of my second candlestick and then placed that on the top of the first candlestick. And then for the second saucer, I just placed the hot glue right on the bottom of the candlestick, and then I flipped that over on top of my saucer. I found that this was a little bit easier for me to get it centered. And then for the finishing touches, I thought it would be really cute to add some Spanish moss to the top saucer. And then I ended up using some greenery that I had laying around, which I think this one is from Hobby Lobby. These were just some extra pieces that I had in my craft stash, and I made them go around the top of the saucer, kind of like a wreath. And then I placed a bird that I have had for a while from the Target dollar spot right in the center of the greenery. And this is my candlestick or candle holder all finished, even though I'm not using a candle in it. I think it turned out really cute, and you can use different size terracotta pots and different size of those little wooden rounds to make even larger ones if you wanted to. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, I hope that you will consider subscribing. Please be sure to hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of my future videos. And it always helps if you guys share my videos with your friends and family as well. Thank you so much for watching.